It was an ordinary Tuesday night when Lena found herself craving Chick-Fil-A. She had a long day at work, and there was something comforting about a chicken sandwich, crispy waffle fries, and a cold lemonade. As she drove up to the drive-thru, she noticed something odd. A single crow perched on the roof of the building, staring at her with glassy eyes. Its feathers were oddly ruffled, and it tilted its head as if assessing her. Creepy, Lena muttered, brushing off the uneasy feeling as she pulled up to the speaker. A voice crackled over the intercom, oddly distorted. Welcome to Chick-Fil-A. How may we serve you? The voice was hollow and robotic, lacking the usual warmth and cheer she expected. She ignored it and placed her order, but a chill crept up her spine. As Lena reached the window to pay, the girl who handed her the bag seemed off. Her eyes was a little too wide, her smile too strained. Lena gave her a weak smile, then glanced at the girl's name tag, Emily. But something was wrong. The letters was twisted, smudged, as though the name was melting. Have a blessed night. It was my pleasure to serve you, Emily said, her tone sickly sweet, but her eyes held a hint of something else. Was it fear? Lena shook her head, deciding she was just tired. She drove to the parking lot and unwrapped her food, eager for her first bite. The sandwich was perfectly warm, but just like she liked it. But as she sank her teeth in, an odd metallical taste filled her mouth. She pulled back, her stomach churning. She glanced down and gasped. There was a small, sharp metal pin poking out from the bread. Her mouth began to throb as she touched her tongue to a tiny prick where it had gazed the pen. Heart pounding, she reached for her phone to call the restaurant when she noticed the crow. It had moved from the roof to the hood of the car, staring through the windshield with cold, calculating eyes. She watched as it slowly pecked at the windshield, each tap louder, sharper, as though it was cracking glass. Is everything all right, ma'am? A voice startled her. A man was standing outside her window, his face expressionless. He wore the Chick-fil-A uniform, but it looked faded and tattered. His name read Mr. Griggs, but like Emily, it was smudged, barely legible. Yes, I just found something weird in my sandwich, Lena stammered, holding up the half-eaten sandwich with the pin sticking out. Mr. Griggs smiled, revealing teeth too white and too sharp. Oh, we'll fix that for ya, he said, reaching through her window without accent. Before she could protest, he snatched the sandwich from her hands. Please wait here. It's my pleasure to make sure that this sandwich tastes better for you, ma'am, he instructed, his eyes not leaving hers as he backed away, taking the sandwich with him. Shaken, Lena watched him disappear into the restaurant, feeling a wave of nausea. Something was wrong, horribly wrong. She could still taste the metallic tang in her mouth, and a pounding headache was creeping in. She looked down at her hand, which had started to tingle, and noticed a strange red mark where she held the sandwich. She rubbed her hand, but the red mark seemed to spread, moving up to her wrist like some kind of rash. Panicked, she decided she couldn't wait. She was gonna leave right now. But when she turned the key, her car wouldn't start. The engine sputtered, then died. Her fingers felt numb as she tried again, over and over, but nothing happened. She glanced up, and there in a restaurant window was Mr. Griggs. He held her sandwich in one hand, a sinister grin spreading across his face. Emily stood next to him, her eyes wide and empty, and then they waved. The lights in the restaurant flickered, casting shadows that twisted and drifted across the walls. For a moment, Lena could swear she saw the shapes of people, employees and customers moving in the darkness, their bodies jerking in unnatural ways as if they were puppets. Heart racing, she reached for a phone, dialing 911, but the line was dead. Panic surged through her as she looked around, hoping to see another car, another person, anyone. But the lot was empty, the world outside unnervingly silent. She slammed her fist on the steering wheel, screaming for help, when a familiar voice whispered from her radio. "Lena! Lena!" It was Emily's voice, cracking and distorted. She looked at the radio in horror as it continued. "It was my pleasure to serve you, Lena. It was my pleasure to serve you." Lena's eyes widened as the static grew louder, and then a chorus of voices filled her car, overlapping, chanting, each one warped and inhuman. "It was our pleasure to serve you. It was our pleasure to serve you. It was our pleasure to serve you. It was our pleasure to serve you." She covered her ears, but the voices only grew louder, echoing in her mind. She felt a sharp pain in her hand and looked down to see the red mark spreading further, her skin growing hot as if burning from the inside. Her vision blurred and she felt herself slipping into darkness, her mind consumed by the chilling chant that refused to stop. Lena's car was discovered the next morning in a Chick-Fil-A parking lot, engine dead with her phone laying at the passenger seat. The employees who opened the store claimed they hadn't seen her, hadn't worked the previous night. The police found no evidence of foul play, but a strange report made its way around town. Each time someone drove by the Chick-fil-A after closing, a crow could be seen, perched on the roof, watching, waiting. And if you happen to glance through the windows, sometimes, just sometimes, you will see the shadows of two employees frozen in a wave, their faces twisted in smiles, far too wide to be human.